Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Isaac, and this channel is basically going to be devoted to looking at different music, different albums, lists of albums, and just kind of doing album reviews. To start off, I'm going to be going through the Rolling Stone 500 Greatest Albums of All Time list with a video for each album. I was sort of inspired to do this because last year I listened to the Apple Music 100 Best Albums of All Time list. And these lists, they're obviously not objective or anything, but they offer a way to, get your toes wet and sort of figuring out, where your tastes might expand as far as music goes, and also challenging your existing tastes, right? By listening to music that, a fair amount of people think is quite good. So I listened to those 100 albums last year. But I didn't record anything. I didn't journal about it, or I just listened to them and rated them basically and recorded the data. I listened to them and put my favorite tracks from each album into a playlist. So I'm kind of doing a similar thing with the Rolling Stone list now. But before I delve too deeply into that, I just wanted to say a little bit about myself. I studied English and Spanish at the undergraduate level, as well as English at the graduate level, receiving an MA in English. And I basically, I'm a very casual listener, at least right now, to music, in that I listen to music like everybody else. Some people are, there's varying degrees of how much music people listen to. I would say I'm pretty average. I don't listen to music more than the average person or less than the average person, but I'm trying to expand my sort of musical palette a bit. And listen to things that I may not have always listened to, or that I may not have heard before. But what I bring to bear on on music that might be kind of unique is that I being trained in English, am versed in cultural critique, and so I know that I'll have a certain take on music that is sort of refracted through the lens of the cultural critique I've done in English. And so that's kind of where my angle is. I'm doing a lot of writing about each album, as I'll talk about in a minute, so that also comes with the territory of English and writing and literature. So essentially I also wanted to mention that a little bit about my musical taste currently. Right now my favorite band is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which, if you haven't heard of them, they're fantastic. Very prolific and always changing their approach. But they're generally sort of psychedelic rock is their typical genre, but they kind of span a bunch of genres. But I mainly, started out listening to things like classic rock, bands like the Rolling Stones, the Velvet Underground, as well as, of course, the Beatles, right? So rock from the 60s, the traditional rock and roll. But I also like artists like Bob Dylan, for instance. So as you might be able to tell, my listening is very sort of, I haven't gotten into the esoterica of music, so I sort of, have a lot of exploring to do, and I'm excited to do that here on this YouTube channel. So I'd like to talk then about the process I'm going to go through for each of the albums on the Rolling Stone list. So each album is going to be a video, basically, a video review. So internally, right, what I'm going to be doing is listening to the album pretty much just once through, and then in my notebook here, I am rating it out of 10, and each rating has a certain word that goes along with it. So like 7 out of 10 is good, for instance, 5 out of 10 is average, right, 6 out of 10 decent, and so on. And I essentially will be rating them, recording also in here information about the album, so the date of publication, the title, the artist, the track list, and then I'll record also the day I listened to it, just all the way through, as well as my rating, like I said. And then I'll also list my favorite tracks in here, and then I'll also do what will form the backbone of these videos, which is a 5-minute stream of consciousness write-up, right? So I'm just free associating, I'm not really using any punctuation or anything, I'm just sort of writing freely about what I thought about the album, and I time myself for 5 minutes, and then after the 5 minutes I'm finished, and then basically I'll transcribe that, type it up, and sort of use that as the backbone for each script or notes that I use for the video. So yeah, and then at the end of each video, I'll give the rating that I assigned, as well as, you know, as the video goes on, I'll probably talk about my favorite tracks and so on and so forth. So yeah, so you know, each video is going to be essentially a review, then an album review of each of these albums on the Rolling Stone list. Yeah, and so the other thing I want to note is that, you know, even as I write, so basically I'll finish the album, and then after I finish it, and I'll sort of replay it and start it over again. I won't listen to the whole thing again, but I'll listen to it while I'm writing the Stream of Consciousness reflection, just to sort of keep me in the mood and vibe of that album. So that's another little thing I'm doing in my process. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this project. And I hope that you'll join me in going through this Rolling Stone list of the 500 greatest albums of all time, supposedly. And yeah, so I thank you for watching if you have, and I hope that you'll join me for the first entry in the series, which is going to be number 500. We're starting from the bottom, going to the top, which is Arcade Fire's Funeral. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.